going on, y'all? It's J Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man. Bring you guys today a recap for OSBL versus Gates of the Garden. Was able to do predictions for it a little bit earlier, I believe, last week. And I gotta say, event exceeded my expectations. I thought it would be a solid event and a couple standout performances, which there was, but the standouts were even more standout than I expected, whether it was within 3-rounders or 1-rounders. For the most part, all of these top performances I'm going to speak on, because I'm going to review the card. I'm going to talk about the clear battle of the night, the top 3 performers of the night that really stood out. But all 3 of those performers, I'll say right now, were in the 1-rounders. So got to give a lot of props, man. Some people really changed up their stock. And some people took some L's that they can build from here a little bit. Have to mention, we didn't get Ace on Mean versus Kid Slade. Pretty much canceled there. You know, we don't know the reason behind it, but just they tell us it's not going to go down by the end of the night, which I know frustrated a lot of people, understandably. Only finding out the main event's not going to go down when it's main event time is rough. And then Bill Collector versus Wusa had been canceled ahead of time. Could have been a little bit more put out there that it was, but Wu had already talked about it a little bit on Twitter and whatnot. So I mean, you know, the battlers are putting out it's not going to happen. You could at least find that. But even without the top 2 battles, they ended up having a lot of positives already on that first real run of the card. So without further ado, let's get right into the recap. So starting off from the bottom of the card, I want to talk about all the battles. So before we get into the top 3 performers, top battle, right? Start with the opener, Zeke versus Monty. This was a body bag 3-round performance. Zeke won content-wise in the first, just outclassed Monty. Second round, he was going to outclass him content-wise anyways, but Monty choked halfway through his round. I believe it was something like that. And then the third round, Monty chokes on his first bar, right? So you were down 2-0 dominantly. You're rapping first, and now you've choked on the first bar, your third. You can't win like that. That's not going to get it done. So Zeke, body bag win. Kang versus Sinatra. I'd never heard of Sinatra. And this wasn't a good one. You know what I'm saying? First time watching him, definitely not his best performance. I don't know if it's the best performance, but it definitely wasn't a good one. Kang just more seasoned, handled business, was talking shit the whole time too, won very dominantly, and got, you know what I'm saying, got Gates of the Garden back. So I had it 1-1 so far in terms of judging, which league was taking the wins for the night. From there, we had the second most competitive battle of the night. For a minute, this was by far the most debatable, and that was Jay Kruger versus P Black. First time watching P Black, but man, he was good. I thought Kruger clearly took the first. I saw some people, giving P Black the first. I thought Kruger was just, if you're gonna go bar for bar, especially punching, Kruger's just not the one to do it. We're talking about, I've always looked at Kruger as really top tier talent, but has just never had that consistency. Your activity enough, right? Things outside of battle rap for the most part, but punching ability wise, man says some wildly creative shit. If you're going bar for bar with him, I think anyone's gonna have a hard time. So I had Krug taking the first. The second was Black's best round, and really the best round of the battle. It was all drug talk round for the most part, but he said we was selling it when it was Reggie. We knew weed by its government name. That was stupid. One of the best bars of the night by far, and I had him taking the second round. And then the third, say maybe the most competitive. I had Krug taking the third as well. It went back to kind of that bar for bar approach, but I thought it was closer than the first. I thought Black made it closer than the first round. So I thought it was fairly debatable. If somebody wants to give it to Black, I ain't mad at it. I gave it to Krug 1 and 3, so I had it back to Gates of the Garden side, right? I had it up 2-1. From there, we had Lady Caution versus Mallory X. Or I don't know if that was the exact next battle to talk about, but it was on the card, right? So Lady Caution, Mallory X go. And this is as simple as cleanliness, right? I thought Mallory's round was cool. Some peak moments. I still think delivery-wise is really what she has to work on. There's times where it just doesn't feel like rapping. It feels like aggressive spoken word at times. So I feel like is anyone that's new to battle rap, that sometimes really plagues people. You'll see the delivery, it's battle rap delivery. It's clearly based more around landing punches or landing the concept than it is rapping fluidly to it. So I feel like that's the difference there. But her round was clean, and Lady Caution choked 4 bars into her round, and she brought it back. It was only 1-rounder, right? So she already lost, unfortunately. She choked. She ran it back from the top of the round, and then she choked at the exact same spot. There is no, I've seen people, she stumbled but got it back and had better material. Listen, she might have had better material, honestly, if she didn't choke, but she did, but if she didn't, she did, right? So I don't, some people like to work around chokes when it's a battle. They listen, it's just a 1-rounder, but Mallory, clear W over Lady Caution in that situation. And then from there, we pretty much just have top performers of the night to talk about and the absolute war that went down on the card. So like I said, top 3 performers of the night. And at number 3, I do first want to talk about Prez Mafia's round versus Northeast Tay. Now, Northeast Tay actually had a pretty good performance, and he's like the odd man out from the first top 6, I believe. Like when they were choosing the 6, he was like that 7th man that just missed. So he's obviously climbed through the crucibles, right? Like there is people that see the potential. And it's because it's, for me, these standout lines that he has. He's really good at producing a quotable or 2 to walk away with. And they actually talked about it in this battle because he has the keep turning over a new leaf and finding a new person. That bar's crazy. I've seen that clip everywhere. And then the headshot, his eyes roll back like he's trying to see where the bullet went. So he makes lines like that. And he had another one in this battle. Dan Schneider, fuck all that. Crazy, ridiculously out of pocket, but like a creative punch. But I think Tay's issue, like I said, with Mallory with the delivery, with Tay, it's that when you're having a great round, a big part of that is the PK makers, which he's got. I feel like that's the hard part, creating those creative lines that'll shake the building. But then you got to have the consistency through the round, right? Like, just to not have dry spots. Not everything's going to be a haymaker. Some of it's going to be jabs. Some of it's just going to be you rapping and just keeping your pace. But you can't have great spots, dry spot. Great spot, dry spot. I'm not saying that's exactly how it was, but he was more susceptible to that. When he wasn't landing a peak line, he might lose steam a little bit. And then for Prez, it's not like that. Very confident in his style and for all the bullshit he's been in his career. And it's funny because a lot of people give Prez a lot of credit for his style, his impact in battle rap. I think it's a little overstated. However, he is a humongous part of how voice inflections got to be such a common thing in the game. So, in that regard, obviously, he does have a kind of a big part to play in how modern battle rap is rapped. And I just thought that he brought a great version of that. He flipped, if I had to say a bar, he flipped the eyes, your eyes roll back, trying to see where the bullet went. He flipped that line on Tay and said, headshot, and I know where the bullet went. Ballistics. That was crazy. And that was by far from his only haymaker. He was just rap more confidently. He's got that little bit of, aggression and griminess in his voice. And he really just walked him down. It's just a difference between a vet and someone's a little less experienced. One of the best Prez rounds I've seen in quite a bit of time. He took this very seriously. And like I said, top 3 performer of the night. So you got to give Prez his credit. Then, from our runner-up from performer of the night, a battle that I thought would be one of the best back and forths on the card, but it really ended up being a one-man show, and that is the Saga versus Saflair Soul. And if you told me that Saflair Soul was going to wild out in Martinis, wouldn't have shocked me at all. I still think he's the number 1 prospect from that first top 6 class. I still think he has the most potential. He's got rushed a little bit. Danny battle doesn't go his way. Nitty battle's like the 3rd of his career, right? But now that he's back to gradually booking, and he's kind of been on some of the small leagues this year, he took Pyrex Jones on iBattle, did really good in that. And dog, it's a 1-rounder, but he was wildin' versus Saga. And I'll tell you how much he was wildin'. For some of these other ones, like Prez, he raps second, right? So the guy raps first, Sinatra or Kang, another body on the card, right? They rap first, but then you respond, you take that energy back. This is in reverse. So Flair rapped first, and his first was just so powerful, so haymaker-filled, but that by the time Saga rapped, very capable, by the way, Saga is. Like, we know how he is as a puncher. The air was just out of the room. Like, he just set the bar too high. And I thought Saga had a decent round. You could tell energy a little bit down, like more smiling, jokey. And I feel like that's kind of, you got to kind of play some type of strategic move like that when you just face around where it's just like just fucking bomb after bomb. So Saga was decent. I don't really got nothing bad to say about him, but Saflair Soul was just wildly better and just took the situation as serious as he possibly could. And like, as I said, I think he is, from that first top 6, still one of the top prospects to me. And with performances like this, maybe not just having to be up against a vet or a known name every time, gradually booking, you're seeing he's still got that star potential. So I'm very interested to see what Saflair Soul's next few plates look like. Him and Slade was booked. If they spin back around on URL and they're completing the objective for that 3-rounder, really want to see with that, because I believe both of those guys, I think, are the top guys from their class that came out still potential-wise. And I think that they still, in the rest of 2024 and going into 2025, can play a big part on the URL roster and really further their careers. So very impressed with Saflair Soul. And that leaves you with the performance of the night, in my opinion, outside of the battle of the night, which kind of probably stands above all this since it was a 3-rounder compared to these 1-rounders I'm speaking on. But that is Holmesy the God. His round for Yunus, and listen, I talked about how going into this battle is one of the more ones that interest me more. Yunus being, the prospect that he is, probably maybe the most preferred out of the top 12. I think him and Souffleur Soul are the two guys I really look at with potential. A couple more Footz too, which we'll talk about. But those two I've looked very fondly upon over the last year and a half in terms of talents as battle rappers. And I thought that after the franchise battle, maybe Yunus could change it up, bounce back from that performance. And once again, like the franchise battle, Yunus was good. Pen work, back-to-back punching, ended on a crazy Hitman bar. Break in Holmes, give Hitman PTSD. But this one was all about Holmesy, man. While Yunus was good, Holmesy was great, and then some. Angle heavy, a lot of breakdown, not just the virgin angle used against Yunus, which a lot of people have used. Probably Holmesy executed most successfully, but talking about how he's booked, his current status within battle rap, maybe getting rushed there a little bit too quickly, talking about his family in the substance that maybe he has or doesn't have in his raps. I just thought it was a full kind of going at Yunus's, not just his character, but the way he goes about battle rap, and it just shows how underrated Holmesy can be, especially in these one-rounders. Loso, Thesaurus, and now Yunus goes in that treasure, that little folder of one-round master classes. To me, by far, Holmesy had the best round of the night in terms of the one-rounders, and was the performer of the night, in my opinion. And I see talk, after of like, oh, Yunus getting pushed too fast, right? And I think that's... people are looking at it wrong. If you want to give Yunus critiques for losing a couple battles, fine. If you want to say he shouldn't be on no more, fine. But I don't see he's getting pushed too fast when, listen, he doesn't battle all that often. He's not battling back-to-back-to-back. The franchise battle wasn't that long ago, and since it's back-to-back L's, I know that people are going to automatically jump, but he's been gradually booked, hasn't really faced too many vets. He had Chef Trez on a small league pretty much in his rookie year, and then Miss Hustle was a rookies versus vets type of shot. Outside of that, he's battled people in his class, mid-tier competition. He's climbing the ladder. Lessons like this just happen, though. I think in particular, there's so much noise around Yunus and kind of the hype he's gotten out of his class that some of these guys are taking the matchup more personal. A franchise, when he's expected like 70 or 80% down in voting polls to Yunus, who he perceives as a rookie, hasn't been here, done nearly as much as he has, he takes it personal. And you get one of the better franchises you've seen in years. For Holmesy, I wouldn't say it's one of the better ones you've seen in years, but predicted over again and on the road in Yunus's home, and he's taking that personal, and you get another great, he shows why he's such an underrated angler, and you get a great Holmesy round. So I just think the Rook is getting the best versions of these guys. They're like, we got to show them it's not easy around here. And I think that over, say the next few battles, this is still a great battle, still a good Yunus, but just going to have to be some adjustments to get, kind of break this. You got back-to-back losses. Now you have to hop out of that. That's part of battle rap. Always adjusting, always adapting. I think he'll be fine, but I have to say that because I saw the noise on it. You got to give Holmesy his credit, and it is part of the game to kind of, when you take back-to-back losses, throw some shots. But when I see he's getting pushed too fast, or he's this, or he's not actually this, stop trying to determine somebody's career in year one or year two, man. Give them time to develop. That's how talent works in any sport. And that's kind of my full synopsis there of the top performers. And the last thing I got to talk about in this card is Elijah Strait versus Footz. Very, very, very good battle. And it reminded me, it's a bar fest. It's just a classic bar fest of just punches back and forth. And it's one of those where when you look on Twitter, you look on the timeline, you just see quotes. Like, that's all people are saying from the battles is they're quoting bars. That's how you know a bar fest is doing what it's supposed to do, because all we're focusing on is the bars itself. And, in terms of how I judge the battle, it almost really doesn't matter, to be honest with you. One, it's that good of a battle. Two, it's so debatable that it would be unfair for me to make a confident call the first way around. If I do, I have to give you a win. I'm not a bitch, right? So I gotta tell you what my pick was. I do have Footz in the first and the third. He had a 49ers bar in the first, dog. Rob him for his diamonds. Debo in the Christian, like the 49ers. That was one of the best football bars that I done heard this year. One of the best sports bars I done heard this year. But Elijah's wilding too. What do you say? I got hands for Footz like a chimpanzee. Crazy. You know what else Footz didn't hear? The tiptoeing. They went back and forth, man. It's just so many quotes. I can't wait for this to drop, and I will highly recommend, probably when it drops, I'll even do another spin back and do just a bar-for-bar review on it. It's that good of a battle, and that's how you steal the show. Like, you get you're one of the few three-rounders on the card. I feel like, Footz has been kind of sitting for a minute, hasn't been in that public light. I mean, shit, the Nitty debacle it feels like over a year ago, damn near, right? So, like, it's been a minute. I feel like since I've seen Footz. And then for Elijah, it's tough because he really does sound just like Nitty, dog. Like, I can't, he sounds just like Nitty. But if he's doing a Nitty impression, he's doing a pretty fucking good one, because it's just not easy to write punches with that level of creativity. Like, I get it, it might limit his ceiling because he sounds like someone else that's so dominant in the game nowadays, but you still can't teach someone to write to that level, and he did his part to make this a special battle. I had him win in the second, like I said, but even then, I think that was close. The third, I had Footz winning. I guess that was close. It's all debatable, but the one thing people disagreed with me on is the first. I gave Footz the first. Some people gave it to Elijah, but I saw some people gave Footz the second instead of giving Elijah the second. So I would have had it 1-1 either way, and it would still come down to that third. It was by far the battle of the night, and even though I have a performers of the night here, being that this was 3 rounds, you could really debate not only is it battle of the night, but Elijah and Footz also individually performed better than everyone else on the card that maybe wasn't each other. So amazing. I see some people already put it in the battle of the year conversation. For me, it's high up. It doesn't straight contend. I still think Chef Trez and Fonz was a better battle. I think some people would debate Bill and Rock maybe too, but this is kind of getting up there in those conversations, right? I would say that even if I wouldn't say it's straight out contending for number 1, it is easily a top 7 battle that I've watched this year. So it will be this year's, in my opinion, this year's KD and Wise, maybe last year's Hansel and Yunus, where it's not on the forefront type of platforms, and maybe it's not flat out battle of the year, but it's 2 of the newer talents in the game, or lesser profile talents that have a battle that sits up there with the elites. And that's really what you got to do to snatch attention and kind of climb the ladder in this game. So huge props to Elijah Strait, huge props to Footz with not just the battle of the night here, not just one of the better battles of the year so far, but the best battle of both of their careers up until this point, in my opinion. So that is going to be my full recap here for OSBL versus Gates of the Garden, man. Happy with how the event went down. I got to give a shout out to my guy Frank White, who obviously put this card together. And team cards, dog. I think this is another great example of OSBL versus Gates. People were excited for the stakes of it, and I think you see that from the response online and how people were perceiving the event. You see that in the pride of the battlers. They want to win for their leagues, especially a lot of these guys particularly battle on OSBL and Gates of the Garden a lot, or really built their profile through their system. So there's that extra layer of pride, and that's how you get some of the performances that you did. And just to determine it, I gotta say, once the main events were canceled, they had T Sharp and Funeral Fame go up there, which I think most of you probably don't even know who that is, but it was funny because it's not even on the flyer. So the main events get canceled, and you throw in a battle like that damn near could have opened the night. It was a 3-rounder. But it did give it an odd number of battles, so we can give a score if you judged all the battles for OSBL and Gates of the Garden and which league won the night. And personally, I had it 5-4 OSBL. I'll probably put the text of how I did it, because y'all know me, man. I just throw the mic on and just start talking shit. So I might forget something, I might say something wrong, but I'll make sure the score is up there so you know who I had for sure. Like I said, 5-4 OSBL, and I believe my winners were Saflair Soul over Saga, Mallory X over Lady Caution, Zeke Body and Monty, Funeral Fame beat Sharp in that main, and he's OSBL, right? So that's 4 for them. And then it really comes down to how you call Footz and Elijah for me. Because like I said, I also had Jay Kruger, Kang, Prez Mafia, and Holmesy. So it was 4 either way, and Footz and Elijah is such a debatable battle. If you give it to Elijah, you're going to end up giving it to Gates 5-4. Me personally ended up edging Footz, so I gave it to OSBL 5-4. But that just goes to show how close the night ended up being. And you really did have both sides trying their hardest. So super impressed. Like I got to say again too, shout out to the performers of the night. The Prez Mafias, Holmesy the Gods, and Saflair Souls. I feel like you guys should see a stock boost from this, particularly maybe a Holmesy and the Saflair Soul, who are competing on bigger leagues right now, and hopefully you can benefit a little bit in the immediate future, right, from these performances. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. For those that watched it, what did you think was the performance of the night? Particularly, what did you think of Footz and Elijah Strait? I'm telling you, if you didn't get this card, get the VOD. I'll put it down in the description. But even if you don't, whenever Footz and Elijah drops, I'm telling you, go watch the battle, dog. It is that good of a battle. Reminds me of the old PGs and Black Star, the classic bar fest there, where people were just excited to be there, and the young guys are going back to back with it. But it's been Jay Smo Reviews again, y'all, man. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.